So I'm now going to step you through the optional aptitudes build of Morrisby. You'll have a specific code for optional aptitudes, which you'll find on the home page of your Morrisby Manager login, and it's specific to your centre. Students fill in their details, click on sign up. As with elemental aspirations, they have data privacy screen and straight into a questionnaire. But this is a longer questionnaire. On this occasion I'm going to be positive as I go through rather than negative. And this means I will go through all 103 items in this particular database. You notice that orange message has appeared at the bottom asking me to vary my answers. I'll just ignore that. And the stem here, just under the green bar, is I'd like a job where I. Now you may not pick this up at the speed at which I'm going, and obviously doing it yourself is more useful than watching someone else do it, but the questions are a little bit more complex in terms of vocabulary, the grammatical structure, but still measuring the same underlying concept. And about here we get to a different stem, I could and would like to. The same as with elemental aspirations, this is getting at not just straight interests, who wouldn't want to be a professional footy player for example, but I could and would like to. And as we get to the end, as with the elemental aspirations, the student is put straight into their Morrisby Manager account and they can see that the aspirations have been completed. As with elemental, they can add in information, invite their parents and guardians, and if we click on aspirations it goes into the same presentation. In this situation the bars obviously are long, and we also have specialist interests which have kicked in. These bars are based on those last few questions, I could and would like to, and there's a definition of the areas which are being covered there. Again, students can retake the questionnaire and they can see behind the scenes. So closing that down, we still have work style and workplace. It's possible to complete personality. It's not there yet, but that can be done. And if it is, personality is added to the focus on options I'll talk about in a moment. There's work values, which can be completed, and there's study interests that can be completed. If we go to aptitudes, there's nothing there, but students can complete them, and I'll show you a little bit later how that works. So these are what I'd call the inputs. So I'm going to go home and now look at my choices. This is new information you didn't have with elemental aspirations. And here we can click on careers and start choosing careers which are suitable for the individual. Now there is a system default in terms of the lowest level of academic attainment in the system and go into full-time employment. And you can view the careers which come up either by panes or in a list view. And there are measures here around strong future growth predicted, and sometimes there are careers hidden behind. And the reason that's done is to stop the system, the dozen careers everybody gets, being dominated by a few concepts. So if there are 2 or 3 careers which are very similar, they're hidden behind one of the 2 or 3 which is the best match, and that allows other things to appear in the list. You have things like searching by career families, so maybe this student's interested in engineering and maintenance. You can set an academic level for that if you want. If you didn't, you get all the careers in the database which are related to that area, and you can also search for individual careers if you know the title of them. Now this default can be changed, and often it will be changed. If you do change it, what will happen will be new careers appear in the list. So in this case all new careers were suppressed because of the academic level set, but they're all suitable. If you think about the bullseye presentation of careers, they have the 4 different levels. Morrisby has a similar structure in terms of complexity. I'll put this back to where it was and point out that you can focus on interests or specialist interests. And if you focus on specialist interests, they're more likely to appear near the top of the list because the student said I could and would like to. Clicking on a career gives you up-to-date information, an overview, some media to watch, sometimes several, access, how you get into that particular career, what the job's like, hours, etc., and some resource information. And you can also find out about specific jobs. So if you click on Seek, this will list the actual careers which are currently being advertised with things like salaries, etc. as well. And this can be really useful in terms of making it real, going from a job title into an actual job. students could apply for. And finally, there are related careers. You can, if you wish, favourite the career, and favouriting the career pulls it up into its own list. And this was the top career, so it's been favourited. If you knew you fancied being a sports person, you could favourite it from here as well. And when we go to subjects, what we have is a rank ordering of all the senior secondary subjects in the system by the suitability to the individual. And that's based on the interests and the favoured careers. And there is a fairly complex algorithm behind that. There's a lot more to be said about how this ranking appears, which will be in the full training course, which I hope you take the opportunity to go through. We have other presentations. We have vocational routes. So these are all careers where you can begin with an apprenticeship or traineeship. There's information on destinations. Now the main one here is there's an apprenticeship search linked into Australian apprenticeship pathways, but also under options at 18, what we have is a list of broader study areas. Now study areas are different to careers. They are based on broad categorisation rather than specific job titles. So if we looked into sports science and coaching, for example, you could be a sports scientist, you could be a sports coach, etc. What this will do, as with the careers, is give you an overview, specialist areas. If there is an apprenticeship available, which will be relevant to the vast bulk of students completing optional aptitudes, that would be listed here, including training courses. Now you'll notice here, this is just a list. If we completed the study interest questionnaire, we get that questionnaires results added into this. So just to refresh your memory, in About Me, we had study interests, and you could do the questionnaire, but it hadn't been done. When we go to My Choices, Destinations, options at 18, again, you can choose to complete this study interest questionnaire. And I'm going to do that very quickly to show you how it works. And I will see you at the end. Now I've been through this, specifically choosing not to look at sport. So when you see the interest questionnaire and we look at it from the My Choices tab, sports science and coaching is still top, and stage management. If we go to the questionnaire itself, what you see is it's become very arty and there's nothing in here at all, which should be sports based. So the students can complete this, they can complete it at any time, and there's standalone data, but it also appears under destinations options at 18, and here it's blended into the careers information. So we'd see here, for example, design, but sports also in there. And I find the blending of the interest questionnaire, which is looking at task and environment, and the study interest questionnaire, which is looking at what you'd like to study, generates a very nice blend in broad terms for students. Clearly more relevant for those who are intending to go into further or higher education. Under next steps, students can create next steps. There's a couple here which we hope they follow. One is to upload their Moresby profile into their My Career portfolio, and also speak to a careers advisor if they have any further questions, and they can tick these off to say they're completed. More importantly, they can create some fresh next steps. Under Locker, the students can download their PDF report as with Elemental Aspirations, and they can also do that top right. Again, they can collect trophies which are more appropriate. In this area, there's more trophies they can collect. Careers interviews and meeting information is here, and again, they can collect their notes. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned really is, in terms of adding information to this, how that works. Well, the student could at any time collect information on personality. I'm going to go through that very quickly. I'll show you a couple of questions, then come back. So we've now added in personality information. They've come out as the achiever. There's much more to be said about this, which you can find in the full training course. But I have done this because it now means that when we go to My Choices, the student can choose to focus on personality or interests. So not only does it give a standalone view of their personality, what they call a self-report questionnaire, but it also allows more complexity in the careers which are listed. So for example, I'll just take specialist interests off. This is the default from the system. If they focus on personality, it will change the order, and some new ones will come in. Take that off. Focus on interests, it will change the order, some new one comes in. So you start getting a complexity in the information, which is less the system is suggesting this is right for you, into more of a tool where students can start exploring and making their own decisions. The final thing I want to show you is from About Me. Students can complete aptitudes. There's some information here. They cover verbal, numerical, abstract, mechanical and spatial. And students can do this now or in the future. What I'm going to do is just begin these to show you how it looks. Click on next and you go into the profiler, and it already says a couple of questionnaires are finished. We'll just start off on this and I'll see you later. So now I'm at the end of the second verbal, it's timed out. I'm back to the completion screen, but there is this little button up top here that says exit profiling. So I'm going to take this and it will now allow me to keep looking at the same information even though all the aptitudes haven't been completed. Now clearly there's no aptitude data here because it hasn't yet been finished. You can't just have a look at the verbal and see what goes on, etc. But you can here, if we go in again, it will pick up where you were and students can finish it. So one of the benefits of optional aptitudes is you can take a stepped approach. You can have a look at interests in isolation, you can add personality to them, and you could start doing the aptitudes. But you can't see the results of the aptitudes until you've done all of them. And that does take an hour and a half. End of module.